Hey, yeah. At least we're doing this. She loves it. Don't let her kill you. If I were boring, she would be working with me. This can be, I don't know if we're gonna be able to keep the internet today.
Oh, I'm struggling.
Significant delay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's like 10 seconds.
What's your last name, Teagan?
Gilbert, G-I-L. Oh, and it's Teagan, T-E-A.
Teagan?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, I didn't know that.
Gilbert. Yeah, if spell check has a problem with it, then it's probably right.
I try to acknowledge. Do you mind if I see your trans or should you not? Okay, thank you. So I want people
Once I
to
started
know.
getting it tattooed on my wrist and I started getting stuff, I was like, I'm choosing, even if I can, I'm not, I don't want to ever be invisible.
Right?
Yeah.
I'll
Shouldn't
eventually
have
do the
to be.
trans flag on this wrist. I just started with the Philadelphia Pride flag on this side.
Right, James is here. Hello, James. Good, just in time. We're starting to go live on Facebook here in a second with our 20-second delay because we are in the middle of the mountains. That is for sure.
We're in a city with 400,000 people.
And there's still a delay on Facebook. Am I wrong or am I wrong? Not wrong. Come on. Now, there we go. How you doing, James? You still connecting audio-wise? You have to unmute yourself, darling. Are you on, honey?
I'm not. I'm just
Okay.
I'm gonna take it on this one.
That way it makes people think people are here.
Yep.
Hi, James. Unmute yourself, darling.
I'm doing well, Jacob. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Welcome to the party.
Always a pleasure.
It's always a after a holiday because we actually took yesterday, Monday off, which you don't usually.
Weird.
So I really have no idea what day I'm on, and it's always slow coming back after a holiday. So I'm saying, okay, let's see what happens.
Yeah,
but we have people watching on Facebook. So if you're watching on Facebook, give us a thumbs up, a like, say something, and then come join us here. James, what did you do for the holiday?
I actually saw my parents, saw them, hung out with them, some family, some their friends, and had a great time enjoying some of the Northeast weather we have.
Ooh, so it's nice weather up there right now, I take it, huh? Okay.
Well, in New York, upstate, just up north of New York City, yes.
Okay, well, that's not so bad. What? I don't want a polling session. I love hosting that. So I forgot you're all the way up in New York. I forgot that.
Yes, over in Orange County, just I would say the heart of the Hudson Valley. That's probably the best way of putting it.
The heart of the Hudson Valley. Well, isn't that just romantic sounding? It's got to be beautiful in fall.
Oh, absolutely, yes. No, it definitely comes that way, and it's thankfully where we are. It has not started turning just yet, but in the upper elevations, I'm sure that's just a matter of time. If not, it has already started, perhaps, for sure.
You know what I just realized? Everyone who's usually on the call is upstairs right now remodeling the house. So that's what I'm waiting on. They're all here. They're just upstairs. That's funny. I feel like they need to get to know Teagan somehow. Well, they can watch this later on
I guess so.
our app.
Plus there'll be,
it's easy enough. Yeah.
There'll be lots of beer later.
There'll be lots of beer.
There will be, there'll be much getting to know.
I could, at this point in time, I could suck the alcohol out of deodorant stick. Right, James?
That works.
If you're on Facebook,
come late to the party.
I see you coming in and out, which is lovely. I'm going to go ahead and get this show started. James, you know this is interactive, so ask whatever questions you so choose. Otherwise, if we don't get these conversations started, people aren't going to know and they won't ask. So please feel free. This is going to be a very interesting conversation, guys, as you guys are going through and then watching this on Facebook or later on the replay. Let's go ahead and talk about should we have some tea? Should we spill the tea?
We should.
Okay, we're going to spill the tea here. So what that means, we're going to share the truth with y'all. Mm-hmm. So for those of you who don't know and have not been paying attention, which none of you, I know all of you are wonderful. Everyone on here is great, especially James.
Party of one, or I would say 4 now. It looks like there's a total of 4, and whoever's on Facebook.
There are 4 on Facebook, which is awesome. So what I set out to do to make a difference in January, helping the LGBTQ community, providing shared housing for the members of this population. I had a call earlier today with Trans Social, which is a nonprofit in the Miami area that helps trans individuals change their names, their birth certificates, all those things that go like that. And we found out that 30% of the trans individuals in the Miami area have been homeless within the past year. And on top of that, 70% of trans individuals don't even have their GED. I did not know that, did you?
I didn't know that, but
it's
not surprising.
Yeah, so it's hard. So how do you go about giving people a chance and a leg up when they don't have a place to stay, they don't know how they're going to eat, how they're going to even think about getting their education, even a basic education, when they don't know what they're going to eat that night or they're going to sleep. So the problem that we're trying to solve is on a much bigger scale. It's massive. But if we don't start somewhere, we're not going to start. So we might as well get this damn thing rolling, which is why we're here. And today I'm joined with my beautiful co-star, Miss Teagan Gilbert. How are you, beautiful?
I'm doing very good. Thank you for having me over.
So in case you don't know, you can't tell us about Teagan and I. We're a little different. I am a priss, and she gets her hands dirty.
I'm doing kind of the farmer girl lifestyle, kind of cottagecore lesbian.
She wants to be a cottagecore lesbian. I don't even know. I didn't know what that was. I had to Google it. James, you know what a cottagecore lesbian is?
I can't say that I do, no.
Well, it's one word, by the way. I did not know that, but it's one word, cottagecore, which is
and
pretty
fun. Scrabble, does it?
That'd be a really fun Scrabble word, wouldn't it? Is there anything really valuable? No, there's not one actual valuable constant that tells you no. No R? Maybe on a triple letter double word? Maybe? Maybe? I don't know.
I'm more of a Catan person than a Scrabble
I
person.
love Catan. Sellers of Catan. That's so much fun. Okay, so one thing I love about Teagan is, and we're going to be very honest here, so if you have questions, please ask us. We are going to be talking about social issues as far as how shared housing goes and her brilliant model that she has for real estate investing. We're going to be talking about social issues as far as what is gender, what it's like to be a trans business owner. It's very similar to being a business owner. But what are the extra complications and benefits when you're a transgender individual? And we're just having an honest discussion. This is going to be fascinating. Okay, so buckle up. You ready, James?
Get my seatbelt ready.
Woohoo! Does anybody else see who's watching on Facebook before I keep going? I can't see who's watching on Facebook anymore, which is super annoying. I know. You used to be able to tell, but now you can't because they changed the algorithm. I think Facebook actually wants your privacy. I killed myself. Anyway, so anyway, Teagan.
Yes.
Where should we start? Should we start talking about what your property is or your transition? Where would you like to start with?
Just kind of like the reason why we started the SCRC out there, the Southern Colorado Rainbow Cooperative.
So this is her business. So the Southern Colorado Rainbow Cooperative. So Teagan, tell us about the Southern Colorado Rainbow Cooperative.
I got really lucky. I got really lucky repeatedly, and a lot of my friends were not riding the same stream of luck as me, and that's kind of bothered me. Let me be more specific. So I found myself 2 years ago, I was living in a single wide. I was in some difficult months still borrowing money from my own parents for the lot rent and finishing up my degree at university. And
where are you getting your degree in?
So it was geology and sustainability.
Makes sense, actually. No, actually, that makes sense. You told me geology yesterday, but sustainability makes a lot of sense with your business model.
Absolutely. And
what does that mean? What does sustainability mean?
Well, sustainability essentially comes down to the fact that we have to start thinking as a civilization long term when it comes to our use of natural resources, but not just in the traditional kitschy, put on your power rings and summon Captain Planet kind of way, but in like we need to start considering it when we're building corporations, not just as a consumer, but as we are entrepreneurs. Start folding in the complete and total costs of the products that we're sending onto our consumer, including the costs that we put upon our land and our community into the costs that we pass on to the consumer, so that we can make sure that as we participate in the local economy, in the local environment, that we continue to be stewards of that land, because we are not isolated. And if we continue to abstract our decision-making process on the commercial scale away from where the products are being made or where the employees are living, then somebody in one state or one part of the world is doing very well, while the people who are actually benefiting from those, the people who are actually doing the manual labor, their living standards continue to decline.
It's actually, I love how you said that, actually, especially being stewards of the land. There's a really great, if you have Apple TV, there's a great series, I've talked about this a few times. It's called Home, just H-O-M-E, Home. And I think it's the second or third episode, talks about this amazing woman in Bali who builds everything out of bamboo. Everything. And they are the most gorgeous structures you will ever see.
It's a very unique plant product that grows several inches a day, depending on the breed.
Yeah, you can grow an entire house in 4 years.
Yep.
Which I thought was, and these are massive homes, and they're works of art. But one of the things that she said, which I love what you said, is if you build your dwellings based on what the land will provide, the land will always provide it.
You have to start thinking, so I kind of call it like local war, and it's not my thing, of course. But that's what I try to take that concept of the local war, and it's people who, when they're considering how they're going to eat, how they're going to live, and how they're going to structure their diet, they try to eat as much locally grown produce and produce that is grown sustainable in their local agriculture in order to reduce CO2 from the outside. And when you take that aesthetic and you try to kind of expand that, and you say, I don't come into an area and build this perfect dream idea that would be better suited to a coastal environment. If I'm in the middle of the country, I go and I see, what can that area support? What can the water table support? What can the local economy support? What are the local plants, the local animals? Let's not import as much from outside of the area, but continue to build up and thrive using as much local materials and botanicals as you can.
I mean, that makes sense. You're not going to grow pineapples out here in Colorado.
But you can't, see, that's the thing, is you can grow a lot of things in a lot of different areas if you continue to shove nutrients and fertilizers into the ground that come from outside. And of course you need to use those, but you can extend the range of some products outside of their natural habitats, but you continue to have a deleterious effect on the soil and natural environment. If you continue to do that, you're pretty much overclocking the soil, you're overclocking that environment. And so keeping that in mind and trying to, you already are dealing with an ecosystem that has adapted over millions of years to those local products. So if you can use those local products as much as possible, like up here, lavender grows naturally. So if you can continue to grow that product here, using the water table locally and using in sustainable practices, you're going to put less stress on your land, and it's going to last longer.
Hi, Ben. Yeah, that actually makes sense. It's kind of, so my thought of it is there's only so much gas in the tank. You're thinking about going somewhere you can actually get there, it's going to take the same amount of gas. Same thing with the land. Your land will only produce so much. Mm-hmm. So it has a cap. Are you going to force it with fertilizer and make it happen and shorten the life? Or are you going to extend it and let it continue? It's 6 in 1.
Exactly.
So, Teagan has a very interesting business model because of, again, she was talking about luck and what brought her luck. So you were, and by the way, living here in Colorado, were you here in Colorado at this point?
So no, I wasn't. I was living in Phoenix. I was attending Arizona State University. And so what essentially the lucky thing happened is I had some contacts that I had earlier from my military time, and I got a call up and they said, hey, we noticed on your Facebook page, you're my friend. We served together, overseas. I'm working now for this company as a contractor. We need more people. So I came out here to do computer work. And I'm very lucky. I got a very good job. But the big crux of the whole issue was that I suddenly found myself going from living below the poverty line to being in not just what the general public considers middle class, but what like you actually statistically consider middle class, which is like, you know, in the 80 and above range a year. I found myself in that area very rapidly. And my entire social group, my entire friend group, they weren't coming with me on that trip. And I very rapidly found out that I wasn't satisfied with doing what everyone else in that pay range was doing with their lives. I needed to continue to build up my community. I needed to bring them with me. We had this conversation earlier. I said I was looking at my friends, I was looking at my friend group, and what was keeping them from meeting their basic Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know, their need for shelter, their need for food, their need for, you know, for community and feel overall safety, was in many cases around $500 a month.
Isn't that sad?
And so it was like, how can I can't just keep giving away $500 a month to people. I don't make that much. So how can I make their lives easier so that they can have the $500 a month back in their pockets so they can use that to pay for tuition on a class or get a certification? Like tons of IT certifications are like in the $200 to $300 range. But you'd be surprised how many people put those off for years because they can't get $200 or $300 of disposable income. So the idea was essentially we build a place where I have people to come live with me. They pay the rent on their room, but we also were getting enough of an overhead that if one of my members, because you know they're trans, if they lose their job during their transition, then we can all just say, hey, it's okay. We've got you for a few months. Let's get you back on your feet. Let's get you doing something that you'd rather be doing maybe. Maybe you want to
That's
get...
actually just something I want to touch on because I don't think most people realize this. In the majority of the states, it is still, you can still be fired for being transgender.
At will employee.
Yes, Florida just passed a small little civil rights act saying that it is illegal to discriminate against transgender individuals, but it doesn't mean they have to hire them either. So they can't necessarily, you could technically sue them if they fired you for being trans.
That all implies that the people can... I apologize.
No, you're fine. This is the conversation.
When we talk about that, we often say like, oh, well, okay, so if you get discriminated against, hire a lawyer. There's nobody... I mean, these are people who you can't hire a lawyer. What was that? It's this famous campaign slogan that somebody was doing a few weeks back in Massachusetts, like, nobody should go through medical bankruptcy without the right to have a lawyer by their side. And I'm like, there are so many things wrong with that statement where you could have made someone's life better before you get to the point where you're like, you deserve to have a lawyer when you're going through medical bankruptcy in a pandemic. And it's like, we're trying to get to the point where it's like, we can take off just a few of those stressors so that people can get pointed in the direction they want to go.
They don't know questions to ask.
They don't.
Especially when you're a marginalized community, you don't necessarily trust the people who you're supposed to go and get help for because often no one's in your corner. Especially because it's funny just because I screw up all the time and I am an advocate for our community, but I still get my pronouns wrong and I will still ask questions incorrectly. And thank God there are people like you guys who are more understanding and they know that people want to learn, but most people are even just scared to ask. So if you guys have questions about anything about investing, but also about trans, please feel free to ask. Teagan is so gracious, and she the whole point about what she's doing is to educate. That's also part of my mission too. So we do want to educate you guys. And I will say, even if this is going to sound awful, but you'll get this. You may be trans, but you're in America, so at least you're like.
Yeah, there's definitely you definitely get that feeling where you're like if we kind of sometimes we have those conversations at the house because we're like, you know, we do have some people of color that are in our community, but at the end of the day, it's like, are we doing enough for that particular aspect of the community? Because we can sometimes throw a hoodie on and make our transness disappear for an afternoon. Don't wear makeup. throw a hoodie on, put that over our heads, and maybe get through a difficult interaction that might not be trans friendly. But if you are dealing with, if you're an individual that is a member of like a person of color, a hoodie's not gonna, you can't.
You're still a person of color.
Exactly. You can't put that away. Like I come from a military background. I can whip out my, I still have my military ID. I work, I still work for the state. So it's like, I can whip out that ID, and then some people will be like, oh, well, okay, well, you might be trans, but you're a veteran or anything like that. But it's in certain communities that's not a benefit, and you're still dealing with a stacked deck. And so keeping an eye towards being able to help those specific marginalized communities is definitely something that you need to and it's difficult because you have to acknowledge the fact that you're not going to understand.
Yes.
Where they're coming
your
from.
perspective is only.
I have no idea.
There's no way.
I don't even pretend. Like, I don't have any idea what it's like to be a person of color. I don't. Even though that I'm trans and I'm discriminated against, it's not the same kind of discrimination. Or despite the people that have that stacked on top of their transness. And helping that community is something we have to target, especially if we're working, no matter what community we're in, whether we're in a rural, a suburban, or an urban environment. Because America is a lot more diverse than we give it credit for. A lot of people grew up in the suburbs. They have a concept of what like rural life is. And I'm like, rural life is there's plenty of people.
Different.
There's plenty of people of color in rural life. There are plenty of queer people in rural life. Go out of the country and open up a few interesting apps, and you will find there is a wide diversity of people.
Like apps like what?
Apps.
You can really? Oh, that is such a cock tease. What am I supposed to do out here? Use Grindr like an amateur? Ugh.
Yeah, do that outside the big R. But
Big R?
It's like rural Walmart. It specializes in
wait, that's a store?
Where do you think you need to go? Yeah,
It's called the Big R.
Big R is where you go if you need beef jerky or you need a saddle for your horse. That's where you go. You need welding equipment. Do you need overalls that are super thick so that you can work on your electrical stuff? You go to the Big R. Do you need Taco Bell flavored sunflower seeds? You go to the Big R.
I need to admit something. I'm gonna come out and admit to everybody. There is absolutely nothing that she just mentioned that I need to buy ever. Like I do not need Taco Bell.
You have never had the experience of going to a rural tractor store and being the tran.
Oh my God. Should we film that? Should I actually do that as like a Facebook Live? Or like, would you guys want to watch me go to like this, what would you call this? This like little town square where they got every like.
It's a tractor and feed supply store. So it's where you got to go if you got to buy feed for your chickens and stuff.
I don't have chickens. I love cock, but I don't have chickens. No, nothing, James. Anyway, I think it's funny. So
you'd be surprised how much Farmyard Living has plenty of pickup lines for some of those apps we were talking about.
Save a horse, ride a cowboy.
There you go.
Or cowgirl.
Do you want to see a picture of my blank, and then you'd show them a picture of a chicken instead?
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so back to what we were talking about here. So Teagan wanted to get back to her community, and so she moved here not that long ago.
I moved to Colorado Springs in May of last year, and I went from a single wide to a 4-bedroom, 2-story house in the suburbs that was suddenly like what you see like when you watch Home Alone, right? You see those or those Christmas stories, and I was like, okay, my life jumped very quickly. We can get a hold of this. We can stamp down the imposter syndrome. But like all my friend group is like, I'm gonna go pick them up wherever that they live, and I'm like seeing where they're living and what they're struggling with, and I'm like, I have got to do something. So we started with a food drive first. So we went on Facebook and we went amongst our friends groups and we got a few $1,000s. We went straight out. And we just filled bags with food, and then we had a local mental health and like therapy center that you could go to here called Aspen Point locally, and we were just like, can we use your lobby? I'm going to just hand out bags of food to whoever needs it. We went around and we tried to contact the local community, and we were focusing on the queer community, but we weren't going to turn anybody away.
That's the thing. That's actually something I love you said, because even though I'm an LGBTQ foundation, I help everyone.
But we were
I
talking
help
about those
people.
apps. You want to know what was crazy? So I built well, we're going to reveal the app now. So I built a Grindr profile that specifically advertised for the food drive.
Okay.
And Grindr didn't block me. They didn't take me down. But essentially, I had a profile, and I had my face there. But then the underlying profile was like, "Do you need food?" Like, read the comments. So I put my statement on Grindr was like, "Can you provide food, or are you food insecure?" And it was essentially like, can you drop off food, or can you drop off a gift certificate to, like, we have King Soopers as our Fry's affiliate here, or our Kroger affiliate here, or to Walmart so that we can buy food for people. Or if you need food, here's the address and the time and the place that we're handing out food. And you'd be surprised, I think about half of the people that we had showed up for food or dropped off food, we got through Grindr.
This is, yeah.
We were doing you want to talk about
awesome.
grassroots activism? That was like, we were right there. Because I'm like, this is a wide diversity of people on this app. And I know some of the people in this app are not doing so well in their life. And it's like, so
It's
come
true.
out.
For those of you who don't know, Grindr is Tinder before Tinder was Tinder. We've had it since I was in college. You straight people just learned about this whole thing, like, 5 years ago? Meanwhile, we've been hoeing around since 2002. So I don't know why you guys took so long to get on the bandwagon, but in our community as well, in the LGBTQ community, because of discrimination and because of the marginalization, prostitution is, hustling is very common in our community. So they go on these apps as ways to offer massage services or so on and so forth.
We use them as pickup apps.
You pick it up. I mean, I've
The primary use of
my
Grindr
ex-
is a pickup app.
yeah, I've dated a few guys from there. My ex, I dated for 7 years off of that, but you know.
I met my wife on Grindr.
Come again?
I met my wife on Grindr.
Hopefully you guys are following that. How do you feel about that, James? Nelson, would you meet your wife on Grindr? Anything? Mm-hmm.
But
And mine at the gym, so.
That's gonna be interesting to meet your wife on Grindr.
yeah, no, she had a profile. She was like, if you don't want to talk about politics and philosophy, don't even bother, swiping or like clicking meet. And I was like, well, hell yeah. We went on a date. We went out to a bar. We had a conversation. We were constantly comparing things that we had in common. Eventually, we were like, okay, here comes, what's a crazy thing that we both can't have in common? And like, no, this is gonna be so weird. Like, we were like, what's your favorite World War II aircraft? And like, we both yelled out P-38 Lightning, and then we got married.
You're a unique individual. I think we can all agree to that. I don't even know. They had aircraft in World War II. I knew that. Okay, don't I take you seriously there, Liz? I see you judging me.
But well, we were taking. I was looking at the situation, and I was like, I understand the clientele, and I understand the people who participate in this social media app. And yeah, you're right. There's wide diversity of people. I mean, the people looking for dating. There's people looking for networking. There's people looking for hookups, and there's people that are participating in the sex work economy on there. And it's a very queer app. But we also knew that app was going to skew towards lower and marginalized social groups, and that was a perfect target for us to be able to get the word out that we were doing a food drive.
So you came here, you started doing some social good.
Exactly.
And then, so at what point did you move out to the hobby farm?
Well, we kept talking about it. I was like, well, I'm going to make this organization, and we're going to connect people with legal, medical. We're just going to build a network. I was just like, what we're going to say is we're going to start telling people that we can hook them up with medical services, because we had a couple of doctors that we knew. And then we're going to try to find a few lawyers that are local, that are LGBT friendly, and then we're going to start saying we can connect you with that. And then we were just building our own little network. Because I came to Colorado Springs, and I found out this was kind of the headquarters for this organization known as Focus on the Family.
Oh my God, I used to have to watch them as children.
So they're
okay. For those of you who don't know who, are you going to tell who they are?
No, please go ahead.
Oh, you'll probably be much more polite than I would be.
Well, I'm in the trenches here. You're not from here, so go ahead. You describe them.
Oh dear God. Okay, so Focus on the Family. I Focus on the Family to you guys is what Trinity Broadcast Network was for me when I went to college.
Yeah,
their TBN was
so
right.
They're anti-LGBT propaganda.
They are a fundamentalist group of very wholesome Christian film supporters, I will say. They make all that.
They also lobby.
They're lobbyists. They are all about conservative Christian values that they determine are appropriate for everyone. And they just make the most wholesome videos. They don't swear, they don't curse, there's no boobs anywhere. It's just delightful for you and your children, which is so damn boring.
We
Please,
moved to the
people,
hometown
what I
of
don't
them.
understand is like what you're raising children to be adults in an adult world. Stop trying to sugarcoat this crap by making sure that they don't see what it looks like outside to see a car. What the hell? Focus on the family. Focus on your family. Go on, you go. You got me started.
Because of that, because there was organized resistance to the LGBT community here, we realized that Colorado Springs, while it had a fantastic community, it had a fantastic drag community that was very trans-friendly. Oh, super trans-friendly. I mean,
Nelson, do we know any drag queens over here? Where'd you go?
Well, you're gonna be my wife.
Your wife's a drag queen?
Yeah, she's retired, but yeah, she's Ivanka Kutovich.
Ivanka Kutovich.
So,
Pam, I think you got a new girlfriend. We got to meet her.
But because we have this fantastic community here, we have a couple of really great bars here. But that is where a lot of LGBT organization in major cities was back in the 90s. So you come to a city in the year 2020, and while they're working their asses off here, their organization
30 years behind.
It's 30 years behind. And I came from Phoenix, where we had a legit gayborhood. I mean, Pride was huge. I mean, we took over the downtown area, and to come out here where it's like we have this, like I said, they're absolutely fantastic, but they've been pushing against more resistance than in other metropolitan areas, and there is a need out here. So I said, okay, so I was like, what can we do? Can we buy a downtown, like little skinny, multi-story building and put bunk beds in there? Can we buy a suburban house and fill the bedrooms up? How can I maximize this? And I was like, well, if we go out rural, because like we are right on the edge. The city's weird. It's like a straight line with bases, and then rural, and then the city's all on the other side of the line. And I was like, well, if I work right on that line, then I can still live 30 minutes out into the country, and it'll take me the same amount of time to get into work. So I was like, can I buy a house there? Can I look? And I was right on Zillow, and I found this unique property, and it was a foster home.
Farm, right?
Yeah, it was a foster home. It was on 10 acres.
Cool.
It had 7 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, 5 living rooms, essentially, 2 kitchens, 2 laundry facilities, and that's not to mention that there was a second building on the property that had its own kitchen, 2 bathrooms, 4 bedrooms, a laundry facility, and living space.
Also,
then,
these like abandoned stables.
So we have the barn there, abandoned by us, but there's only because of the flippers. But they did used to. I have the documentation. They had some cows and stuff, and they had a horse. That we had a chicken coop already built on the thing, but it was really, really basic. So we had outbuildings for agriculture.
I want to look at their faces right now because I've got some people here I love. By the way, the people who you see here are you've seen upstairs. So I want to see this. Guys, do you think I should actually start learning how to farm?
So my chicken coop needs cleaned out. If you want to go ahead and brush all that, I got a bunch of chicken shit and bedding and stuff like that. It's just pine shavings. We'll put it in a wheelbarrow, and then we'll cart it over. It's very cottagecore. We'll cart it over to the compost heap, and then we'll put it in the compost heap, and we'll stir it all up with our.
This sounds like a great reality TV series for you, Jacob.
Would you actually watch this? Oh, I don't know if it's like.
Once we get the cows, we need someone to muck the stables out.
Jacob of Green Gables. That's going to be tough. Muck? You think I muck things?
We'll get you like a tartan kilt and everything.
I have a tartan kilt.
We'll do it like Outlander. It'll be great.
Ooh, that is hot. Jamie?
Giddy up.
You know it. If you've seen Outlander, you know who Jamie is, and you live for those scenes where he has his ass showing. You know you do. Liz? You know, girl, don't you deny it. He might be a white boy, but everybody likes a good piece of grade A prime rump roast like that. That haggis looks like it needs to be smacked around the touch. Sorry, I'll go back. So we're now looking at a 7-bedroom home that was originally for a family that had literally a dozen foster kids. Oh my God, I love them. Whatever happened to them? Do you ever talk to them?
Well, eventually the wife that passed away.
Oh,
And so they kind of, and then so the kids started aging out, and they kind of moved into other farms, is what I understand. And then I think the original male owner of the property, I don't not quite sure where he went off to, but without his wife, they kind of, he can't run it on his own.
I will say, for all the foster parents out there, God bless you. But for those of you who are trying to do something different, God bless you.
Absolutely. And then so what ended up happening is that the local real estate investors had a very unusual building.
This one that you bought,
yeah,
a hobby farm.
No, who needs two houses on their property? Which, by the way, if we count the second house, it's not 7 bedrooms. If we count the second house, we're now talking about 7 bathrooms, 11 bedrooms, and 6 or 7 living spaces with 3 kitchens and 3 laundry facilities. It's like
on 10 acres.
That's hard to
10
market.
acres.
Yeah, and that's hard to market because you're like, who needs that much? And they were trying to like, can we make this into an old folks home? Like, how can we do this? And then I swept in, and I was like, hi, I make this much money, and I never made this before. Is this enough? And they were like, because I was like, can we get like what if I got all my friends and like we put it together, and we were like, could we get a big loan where we all like were on the lease together, and you had to print like 10 signatures on like the sign over page, and they were all like, they were like, it's close, but you make enough. So I was surprised. I was clearing about 80 to 90K a year because I also was a naval reservist. So I had that on the side. I was making about 90K a year.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
It's my honor, and it's a good job, and it provided a lot of things. There was some give and take, and we have a generally good relationship, me and the Navy. We've had a few disagreements over the years, but we keep getting on. I'm actually published in the Washington Post. If you Google Washington Post Teagan Gilbert, you'll see a very saccharine sweet, a bit uber patriotic article in defense of trans military service.
I will Google that, and we will share that on our app. Don't let me forget that.
The Navy hates when I tell people that I have a Washington Post article.
I'm not surprised.
I've gotten calls.
So let's continue. So this is what I want you guys to hear, okay? This is where I think a lot of people, I like to, so you've been on my calls before, but so hold on, let me explain. So what I try to do on this call is I show people some of the misconceptions about real estate, because when you learn a little bit about, well, they can all tell you.
Because I didn't think I could get $500,000 with
exactly.
90K a year. I thought I was going to get a bunch of people together, and we were going to scrap it all together.
Yeah. And that's actually called a syndication. Then you have to have your regulation D to do that if you actually pulled money together, but we'll talk about it later. But the idea here is when you know so little and you just have to get something done, you've got a vision. So this is the thing. I want you guys to notice what happened here. Teagan had a vision. She cared about her community. Her friends were not as lucky as she was. So she felt she had a moral obligation to help them, which is what drove her out of the 4-bed, 2-story house that she was happy here in the suburbs to looking for something that was going to help further her dream. That's what I want you guys to see. It wasn't the cash flow of the property. It wasn't the ease of getting a loan. It wasn't anything. It was her trying to help her community. And this is why we talk about your purpose so much on this show. Why we talk about why you do what you do, because you'll figure the crap out if you have a reason to figure it out. But if you're going after properties because you want money or passive income or all those other generic bullshit answers I hear people say all the time, you're never going to do anything. So let me rephrase it. You're less likely to do anything. And if you do, you're not going to do nearly what you could.
We had 4 words.
Which were?
4 words. We had 4 words. We were, no.
3.
No, but our goal was in our community, it was less dead trans people.
I love that.
It was like, okay,
so simple.
Because we were like, if we ever get away, if we start focusing on the cattle, or we start focusing on rent money too much, is like, I had a mission statement that was like a paragraph, and it was 3 sentences and all that other stuff. But what it really all came down to was me explaining those 4 words, which was less dead trans people. How do we do that? What do they need? how can we best provide it?
I want you guys, Nelson, Liz, Hector, Pamela, all you guys are on here, James. Because I don't do this. I'm working on my manifesto right now. How powerful are those 4 words? Like, is that not incredible? You can unmute yourselves and talk. I know you're here.
Very simple, but also very direct and very powerful.
And you remember it, right?
As long
Absolutely.
as all your actions align with those 4 words, you're always going to be okay.
How did you compress all that you wanted to achieve into those 4 words?
Crying.
Oh yeah. There's a
It
lot of
was
that.
no, because like that's what it was. It was so I had friends in Phoenix who would come to me and they'd be like, my company's insurance covered my transition. I'm going in for what we just colloquially call bottom surgery. I'm going in for bottom surgery, and it's a month out, and my company's insurance just called me and told me that they're not covering it.
When did this happen?
Give me a reason not to kill myself. And I'm like, I will be there in 15 minutes. Is there anything you don't want on your cheeseburger? And I went through Burger King, and I stayed with her that night. And my mom worked in HR for power companies in Phoenix, and so I kind of knew that kind of background. And I was like, okay, so here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna make this meeting with the HR department, and you're going to walk them through these things, and you're gonna try to find a way. We're gonna work on this to try to find a way to fix it, because their brain was in depression mode, and they couldn't figure out the solution. And I was just sitting there, and I was like, this is stupid.
This is such a beautiful conversation.
This is stupid. This is a thing where if you had $500 extra a month, then you could have afforded better insurance.
Do you guys hear?
Like she was going to kill herself because of $500 a month. Now we can say that it was because she didn't have the right insurance, or her company was screwing her over at the end of the month, or all these other things, or her surgery was going to get delayed. By the way, good news. She went to HR, by the way. She went to HR. Not only was her surgery not delayed, but she met with the CEO of the company, and they increased their insurance the next year, bought a specific plan just for that. And then we got several members of our community employed with her company specifically because they offered better insurance, and they were incredibly loyal members of that company. And it was a tech service company. So they were like, it's always the joke about the trans community. It's like, we're all programmers. A lot of us are. So we just kept funneling them into this company. You had good insurance.
You're
and
one
I'm
of 2 things. You're either programmers or you're drag queens. It's really, those are the 2 things you end up doing. Well, no, that's not necessarily true. You also become bodybuilders.
But you see this all the time. I have somebody who lives in my house right now, and they're a barista at Starbucks, and so that they can get the trans health coverage. And then the health coverage there is half of the paycheck. So they can't afford to pay me rent because they're clearing like $250 a week, because half of their paycheck is going to the insurance. And it's great insurance. If you buy into it, Starbucks covers facial feminization surgery at 100%.
Does that include Botox?
Well, but they cover all of these things, but still, you're essentially a indentured servant to the corporation. Can you imagine 50% of your paycheck going to just health insurance?
Yes,
and
I can.
To the point where you can't even afford rent.
So let's unpack some of this, because I love what you're saying. I think everyone on this is actually going to understand this more, but I don't know I can't tell who's watching on Facebook. So guys on Facebook, please let me know. Sasha, I'm loving you, by the way. So let me unpack something for you guys. Jessica, have you heard Jessica's analogy of this?
No, go ahead.
Oh my God. Jessica has this analogy, which I think is probably the most accurate thing, the accurate way to describe what it's like to be a trans person. First and foremost, if you think, would I be happy if I were the other gender, or anything along those lines, if you spend any time doing that, you're probably on the spectrum. Because if you're not trans, you typically don't have those thoughts cross your mind, which is why for cisgendered and heterosexual individuals, I extend a lot of grace to, because they don't know that that question exists.
They don't get it.
They don't. It doesn't cross your mind to think that way. And why would it? Why would I think of a question in French if I've never spoken French before? You know what I mean? It's the same, and I know that might sound crazy, but that is, for me, it makes sense. Like if you're not gender fluid, why would you have gender fluid thoughts? If you're not gay, why would you have gay thoughts? I mean, you can originating from you. I mean, someone else can have you consider them, but when they originate from you,
I mean, have you seen Terry Crews?
So that's part of the one to understand. Jessica has a way of saying that she's like, when you're trans, it's like wearing the shoes on the wrong feet. Can you do it? Yeah, you can. You can wear the shoes on the wrong feet and go for a walk, but eventually your feet are going to hurt and you're going to have to switch. Something's going to have to change. And that's how I thought that was such a beautifully described way of what it's like mentally for a trans individual when they're going through this and it's mental anguish, trying to determine. I mean, if you're gay and you're thinking about coming out of the closet, you have X, Y, and Z. Like you have that torment. When you're thinking about your gender identity, which is different than your sexual identity, it's even harder, I would think. I mean, and I'm fluid. I could go whatever. I'm really pretty with lip gloss. Anyway, so
I've seen the pictures.
Thank you. I know, right? Good, huh? So anyway, Teagan wanted to go out there and help these individuals who are already tortured mentally and emotionally. Mm-hmm. They have the highest. A trans individual is 120 times more likely to commit suicide than their cisgender counterparts.
And it's often a misconception the reason why. I think that's not talked enough about.
Let's talk about it.
So when people say that, because there are really toxic areas of the online community that will use that as a taunt and be like, look, 40% of your community commits suicide. It's because you're all crazy. And it's like, and that's the reason. It's like no, it's like the suicidal ideations come from the ostracization, being ostracized from your community. Because if you weren't trans, say you had a disfigurement or a disability, and you were ostracized from your community for that, and you were separated from people, you weren't able to interact with other people, you weren't accepted, you weren't invited to things, you weren't allowed to go eat at your favorite restaurants anymore, maybe because of that, you weren't able to participate in society, you're going to have suicidal ideations because you have been separated from community. And that's where that huge aspect of suicide comes from. A large portion of it, I'm not going to say 100%, but a large portion of it comes from the fact that you're no longer allowed to participate in society. You're being sometimes excluded from your friends, your coworkers. You have to change careers.
The church.
You have to change your family members. And that is what's causing suicide.
I agree. And it is something no one talks about. Because the thing is, when you do transition, it is the bravest thing. First of all, you'll appreciate this one. It's the most selfish thing to do. Losing friends, family, job security, like the future you had planned and built for yourself, throwing that all away or adapting it and hoping it sticks. It is very brave. It is terrifying. And the thing is, why would someone want to go through that? And then they come out and they're actually happier. Because at least they're finally living the life that
if they find community.
If they find community, it's everything. It's everything.
But that's the reason why we had to do this is out here is because I had people who had perfectly good jobs. They still even had their jobs. And maybe their families weren't that close to them. But what at the end of the day is that they lost all of their friend group. They lost their entire social group. And in fact, I was just talking about this with one of the gentlemen upstairs because I was trying to draw an analog to veteran suicides because we were talking about how service members who are used to being in units that are very close, where you live, work, sleep, party with the same people in and out for years at a time. And then people think, when they think about veteran suicides, they think that they're mostly PTSD related. But a huge aspect is your misunderstanding is that it's, again, your loss of community. You're used to being,
I've heard that,
you're
actually.
used to living so closely
It's a
interwove
brotherhood.
with these people. And then suddenly you are put back into a nuclear family model or by yourself in an apartment, and you can't cope because you're like, I'm used to always having someone to go out with. I'm used to sitting near with 50 other people eating food every meal. When I was hurt, the place to go get treatment for it was, was right down the, a couple buildings over, and having that support network incredibly tight. And I feel that. I spent a year in Afghanistan. I spent 4 years living on a ship in Japan, living on the ship in a birthing space. And you were talking about selfishness a little bit before. Heck yeah, I want to help the community, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I'm not gonna lie, there's a tiny part in my heart that's going, I need this too.
Oh my God,
I need these
Yes.
people. When there are
yes.
8 people around my kitchen table at night, and they're eating food, I cry
Yeah.
every freaking time, just because I'm like, I need that community as well.
Nelson's gonna make fun of me in a second. I know he will. He's not here.
And so, yeah, there's a real way to draw that comparison between those. If you're trying to understand the suicide epidemic in the trans community, it's not so different from, like, say, the suicide epidemic in the veteran community. And it's lack of community. It's lack of
community. It's lack of resources. It's lack of understanding. It's lack of being awareness. Like, people just don't talk about it. But
you'll see it in
that.
you'll see it in the disabled community. You'll see it in communities that are where you have a small minority community that's separate from a larger host community that's of a different ethnic background. You'll see that in all those communities, and that one thread that's through that all is just lack of community.
Yeah, I can see that. So we can talk about that all day long, because there are obvious social issues that come about, and that's what I have striven for in my investment, is I use my ways of investing to initiate social change. That makes sense?
Yes.
Like, I use real estate as a vehicle to promote positive social change. That's why I look at it. So let's go back and talk about the business side of your co-op. So the Southern Colorado Rainbow Co-op is a really unique model. So now she bought 10 acres of land. There are 2 housing structures on there. It's equivalent of 7 bathrooms, 11 bedrooms, 3 kitchens. It's just this whole thing.
For $500,000, which sounds like a crazy high amount, but turns out to be it's about $2,795 a month is the mortgage payment.
You know how much I pay for rent? In a 3-bedroom, 2-bath?
What?
$25.
Yeah, you could have got a $500,000 ranch. We could have got you cows.
Shut up.
You could have had cows.
Oh, shut up.
Moo.
Do I look like I want cows? If anything, I'm a pig. Anyway, so we move on.
Could have had pigs.
Could have had pigs. Whatever. So she started inviting her friends, or your trans friends.
Yeah. So I had a couple. I have a welder who makes something in the 30s. I had a city employee that was making something in the 20s, and I had a bunch of people who were working in call center jobs. I had a few friends that moved up from Phoenix to try to do this lifestyle. Not a single person has moved out. Everybody's come in, and I've had more people come in, and it's gotten to the point where it's like every couple of weeks I have to, like, turn somebody away because I've got mattresses. I got mattresses, and some of the living rooms we had to convert into bedrooms.
I saw one of them has a box wall, literally a wall of boxes that they put a tapestry over.
So we had a long living room, and we built a wall out of their moving boxes so that they could have their own isolated bedroom.
That's the crazy thing. So this is the thing that's interesting, guys. Our society has multiple, not just the trans or LGBTQ communities, but also veterans and single parents. are plenty of people that need our services,
Yes.
that need housing, that need to have the basic fundamentals of Maslow's laws covered. Secure, like you want shelter and food. If you can get those two things knocked out, then you consider education, then you can think of family units, so you can start moving up to some sort of ascension.
Exactly.
But right now, they need food and shelter. All right, so if you can acquire those things, awesome. This is the part I did not realize, and I was talking to Teagan about this even this morning. With the population that we're serving, that there are grants, substantial grants out there to help you provide housing for vulnerable populations. But you don't think of them. Like when I got into real estate, I didn't think about any of this. I didn't think about doing, I thought Section 8 was a dirty word. I thought mobile homes were disgusting. I was so like snobby and ill-informed and bougie.
Mobile homes are just slightly bigger tiny homes.
Mobile homes are, tiny homes are mobile homes, actually. They just have a front apron.
Exactly.
They're made the same exact way. They just have to be more attractive on the front. That's it. They're same construction, same.
Or the
like,
tiny houses,
yeah,
which have started to get recognition in specific building codes now as separate structures.
Because they have to different convertible
Exactly.
things. But I thought it was really fascinating. Basically plumbing, because they
Can't have water storage.
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting. So anyway, but there's
Just
so many
made me
cool things
read
with
code for the entire county. I read
that. She
it.
told me that.
I read it front to back.
Yeah.
I'm weird.
No, you're not. You're in the right place here. But guys, so if there's a population you want to serve, there's probably a way to do it. So that's why you want to think of something bigger. So one of the things that we're doing, that I'm doing in my business model, that I felt so fortunate I could share with Teagan. Teagan has these additional streams of income, and that are going to be coming in to support the Southern Colorado Rainbow Coalition, or Cooperative.
One of those C words.
It's a C, whatever. And so there are a couple things that I want to clarify for everybody. We don't have much time, so I'm going to say this real quick to make sure we're all on the same page. If you have a nonprofit, it does not mean everything you do has to be unprofitable. Okay? So that wasn't.
Does it mostly pertain to where the profits must go?
Well, nonprofits are owned by the public.
Okay.
And for-profit organizations are typically owned privately. That's the real difference. Okay, nonprofit organizations are owned by the public, which is why they get certain tax incentives, because the public already pays the taxes. All right, so if you paid it for the nonprofit paid the tax twice, or paid taxes are paying it twice, because the public owns them and they've already paid the tax. Does that make sense?
I'm learning. This is interesting.
Thank you. I didn't realize I knew that, but that is the truth. So this is all I'm learning. Sometimes I surprise myself when I open my mouth.
Well, what you're just describing.
Shut up. I know what you're gonna. Oh, go ahead.
No. I had something constructive. What you're saying is that you're realizing that there's a lot of structures that we have been passed down institutionally by people who came from before us that operate a certain way, but we don't remember the reason why they operate that way. Oh. And what you just did is you just figured out the reason why they're structured that way.
Okay.
Because that information wasn't passed on. It was tacit.
No one knows it. No one. This is interesting, right? You want to know something really cool? Okay, guys, Facebook, you're going to be playing along here. People on Zoom, you're going to play along here. Ready? Okay. Out of these organizations, I want you to name the nonprofit. You ready?
Uh-oh. Okay.
The NHL, IKEA, Sarah Lee.
Wait, out of those three?
Out of those three, which is a nonprofit?
IKEA.
They're from Sweden.
They're a socialist country anyway, so yes, IKEA is a nonprofit. You think that's the only one I mentioned?
That makes sense. That matches with a lot of their ethos.
Well, don't get me wrong; they use it as a way to actually make more money. But do you? So there were two others. Do you think? Do you think the other two are the other two nonprofits or no?
I don't know about Sarah Lee. I thought Sarah Lee was like a subsidiary of Nestle or some shit. Am I allowed to say shit?
Yeah. Okay. You can't hear. Okay, so you think so Nestle is not nonprofit, right? They're an actual corporation.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about the NHL?
No, they've got to be. Well, the NHL as an organization. Yeah, actually, the NHL is probably a nonprofit,
yes,
and then the individual clubs within it are privately owned.
The NHL is a nonprofit. I don't know anything about the franchises inside of it, but the NHL, the National Hockey League, is a nonprofit, and so is IKEA. I thought it was good. There were several others. I was like, I didn't realize they were that big, but yeah, they are nonprofits. I thought it was awesome. part of what IKEA does is they help subsidize designers' education.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why all those names that have like far too many consonants and vowels that have extra dots on them belong as
Flattengoyle.
like the Flattengoyle collection or the Koenig. Like I don't know, but that's they help subsidize that, which is really interesting.
My
Now,
bookshelf is called Cable.
I'm doing them right now. No, just me. Got to keep that pelvic floor strong, baby.
If you do it too long, they get locked in there.
I've not had that problem.
I made it up. Back to the topic.
So anyway, nonprofits have a whole lot of things. So what Teagan was wanting to do, she wanted to have these streams of income as well as provide job opportunities for the people that are going to be living in a co-op.
And investment opportunities. You turned me on to that concept.
Yeah, because everyone does. People want to give back. There's nothing like feeling like you're blessing someone. It is the best feeling. And some people can only do it financially. Some people can do it with mentorship. Some people can do it. Like everyone has what they can do at that time. And it always changes. Sometimes you can give money. Sometimes you give time. Sometimes you give both. Sometimes you give neither. That's okay. All of it's gold.
Sometimes you can just listen.
That's sometimes the best thing to do. I find it to be the most beneficial. So what I was telling Teagan is that her nonprofit, she could literally, since Teagan owns her hobby farm, she could actually, through the right corporate structure, and there are some ways to do this. I'm not an attorney, I'm not a CPA, I'm just gonna tell you what I know as an investor. She can rent her property to her nonprofit. The nonprofit can then pay her rent.
So then I retain the equity.
Yes. So in the example we did, you were going to retain the rights of survivor.
Mm-hmm.
You were going to so there are a whole bunch of things we were going to be doing, but you were going to retain the rights of survivorship, and therefore all the equity in the property is actually going to your net worth, but it's going to actually be in your trust. So
Makes
the worth
sense.
of your trust is going to go up. Now, when the nonprofit rents her property, who owns the nonprofit? I mean, we just covered that. You or the public.
The public owns the nonprofit.
There you go. So therefore, if something were to happen, they can't come out and say, "This is my property." No, this is the tenants, the nonprofit.
Exactly.
So
And
they
that also
can't-
gives you a layer of protection.
Yes, it
legally.
does. Well, also from your tenants who you're sharing, walls with.
Exactly.
So that's part of it as well. Now, out of that, they're going to be doing really cool things with like microgreens and a food truck, different livestock, and then welding and butch things. And all of these things that she wants to achieve are individual streams of income.
Like the Amish, but really, really queer.
It's so clear. Yeah, real clear. So she's got 4 streams of income minimum right now to starting, right?
Exactly.
So why these don't all have to be nonprofit. So one of the things I was trying to show her is you can actually have a nonprofit partner with a for-profit organization. It just depends on how you got some stuff structured. So say that she's got these microgreens. Well, that could be a for-profit business.
Mm-hmm.
And that business could hire people to go out there and harvest the fields, the little crop bucket.
Or
things we're doing.
in greens in particular, it would be lots and lots and lots and lots of trays.
There you go. So whatever trays you're carrying, you have someone hired to do that.
Yep.
And they could get paid.
Exactly.
So the people in her home could actually have a job. Oh my God.
Yeah. Even if it was minimum wage, for some of these individuals, that even brings it to a better level.
Yeah, because you're also in the one I love about this model too is they're able to feed themselves too.
Yeah. If
So
you're
they're
already making minimum wage working in a cubicle, if somebody offered you the chance to make the same exact amount of money, but in the place that you're living and you're harvesting plants,
And you see the difference you're making directly.
and you're making a contribution to the community, that's an up, even if it's
It
not
is.
financially. And then they can get, like you were saying, they can
Yep.
then begin to become an investor in that organization and pull profits from it in the
They
future.
could you could give them sweat equity. You could give them so many different ways to get involved. But the idea behind all of it is it's a community and it has a purpose. And especially if you want to, for someone who has had to battle depression throughout my entire life, having a sense of purpose really helps you get over.
That's
so
one of the
much
main
of that.
goals for the rural thing, is that what we really wanted to do is not just provide them a place to stay and a sense of community, but also the end goal, phase 3, is definitely having these opportunities to where when you wake up in the morning and you get out of bed and you go do an action, this action is not an abstract action like placing phone calls for somebody at some corporate headquarters, but it's a direct action that you can see. I harvested these greens, and tonight we're going to eat them at the table.
How cool is that?
Or we're going to harvest them, and I'm going to send them over to one of the other facilities in town, maybe another LGBT house, and I'm going to give that to them.
I love that. Or even like you can give it to another. One of my favorite things to do is to give them to other organizations that would typically not be considered an ally, but you make them. So like sending it over to, you know, veterans or to the police or whoever that community might need to build a bridge with. So I think that's really interesting. So anyway, so what we just covered, there's a nonprofit component, there's a for-profit component, there's a whole, why does that keep happening? There's a for-profit component. There's so many things that you can try to look at achieving. So there's no limit to what you guys can create as far as investing. There's no limit to what you can create as far as social change and becoming a pillar in your community. There's no limit. Go out there and do it. Because if you're not going to do it, who is? If you are watching this, if you're listening to this, you already think different than everybody else around you.
I was living in a single wide 2 years ago, and I'm now own a hobby farm.
With hobby horses and hobby chickens.
No horses. Well, the neighbors have horses, but you can pet them.
That was a pretty one.
You
The
can
black
get-
and white one that ran?
Yeah.
That's pretty. So, but yeah, so we'll be talking with Teagan throughout our stay here. So what we're able to do now, because we have this Colorado Springs house, which is a suburban home, we also now have a country home. So we got people who would like to do better in the country, then we have a place to send them. If we want someplace in the warmth in the tropics, they come see me in Florida. And
Options.
God forbid, God willing, we get a property up in DC, we can actually promote legislation.
Because I'm sure that when you're building these houses, sometimes you have a hard time. You get people in there and they're absolutely fantastic, but you know that they're not the perfect fit for that particular community.
Yeah.
But as we build more diverse styles of community, then you can allow them to shuffle and migrate to the communities that best serve their internal needs and thus serve that individual's community needs, which then just kind of enhance your productivity there.
It's
That's
true.
my idea.
I build my homes based on personality profiles.
Exactly.
So I can see who's going to room well and stuff. But that's just my way of doing it. It's been effective so far.
Can you milk a cow? Get out of here.
I probably can't.
Well, I mean, it's
Thank you. Thank you for making me feel like less of a man.
no.
Thank you, Teagan.
No.
I can't
I mean,
milk a
like,
cow.
I mean, it's milking a cow. I mean,
I can't milk a cow.
it's. I mean, the physical action is probably not unfamiliar to you.
Am I doing it right? Do I have to pull down or something? Is it like this? Am I doing it? No? Well, anyway, I want to say thank you again to Ms. Teagan Gilbert for coming here and sharing your story and sharing what you're doing with your investing. I'm so glad we're going to work together. And I'm so excited to work with you and help each other support our businesses and make a difference in our communities
Absolutely.
and in our society and whole. So thank you. And guys, I want to thank all of you for being a part of this as well. This has been an amazing experience. We are here in Colorado building out this home for our second home for Sherlock's Homes Foundation. So just keep following us here on social media. You can see every day we're posting stuff on the progress we've made in this house. There's so much to do. OMG. We finally painted the ceilings in this place today. Finally. We gotta paint the rest of it later. But anyway, one thing at a time. We'll get there. But thank you so much for being here, my dear. I appreciate you so much. Oh. Thank you guys for being here. Friday, we are going to have yet another Colorado Springs advocate here who's going to help out. Hi, Derek. Are you showing what we're doing? Oh, look at that. There we go. That's what the bitches are doing outside.
That is some prime content.
That is that right there. So that whole floor is got to be replaced down there. They have been, all those lights are brand new. Hector put those up for us. He's an actual electrician. Nelson is doing what he's good at, looking up at things. And I don't know if you can hear me or not. Yeah, hi, handsome. Hi, that's right. You roll that brush, boo-boo. He needs that extension. He's actually 4'1". We didn't know that when we got him off the plane. We had to get a booster seat for the car. And I love that man. I really do. I can't wait to meet his husband. So anyway, but yeah, we're converting. We got to do that kitchen. We got to, that's right. Why are your shorts inside out, Nelson? What's going on? Yeah? Ditsy bottom. Look at that. All right, so yeah, but that's all we're doing. Derek, can you take us upstairs? We're doing upstairs. And show, actually turn around, show the outside. Can you show the door? Yeah. So all of it's snowing, by the way. It's freaking cold. We got, so Bo is our, he has a degree in landscape design. He got rid of all those weeds out there because it was gross. This is still not pretty architectural looking for. He cut all those trees up. It was ridiculous.
You can do some urban
amazing.
agriculture back there eventually.
You can, have you met Jessica? Have you seen her grow anything?
We'll come out.
Oh, well, yeah, you can. We'll let you do it. We'll partner up. All right, Derek, can we go upstairs and see what's going on by where the stairwell? We actually went in. Oh, so right now he's chopping wood for the floor, which is cool. And up here, that right there, that stairwell was covered in the world's most disgusting carpet. It looked like someone had been killed. It was, I think, at one point a cream color that had turned mold green, and it was not attractive. So we removed that yesterday. So that's all going to be fixed.
Did you see the shag carpet?
Oh,
shag-
the moss.
That was in here. That's in the room we're sitting
that's
in.
True. Yeah, it was. So this part right here, looking at, was an addition added on in like 2000 or so. So the floor is just not that great, but this is not what we're focusing on right now. We will, but we're not. Right now, we got to focus on downstairs. But we are opening up the kitchen over here on the left. We are going to be opening up this area so that there's more seating, because there are 8 bedrooms here, right? So there'll be more sitting for everybody to eat around and serve food and stuff like that. It just makes it look much better. And then down here, the 2 front bedrooms, they were covered in nicotine. OMG, they were dripping off the wall. It was disgusting. So we had to go in there and we had to use kills. We painted everything down, ceilings, walls, the floors as well. We are going to be putting the floors down here in the next couple of days. Apparently, when you're doing flooring, you have to let it sit to acclimate to the climate. Otherwise, it'll buckle and break and such. I did not know that.
Changes in humidity and stuff.
Yeah. And so, and this is, there's the other bedroom right here we're working on. And then you have, I think you can see a little bit of the sample of the floor we're putting down over there. So literally when we got here, in order to stay, we had to make our beds like from scratch. Like we had to go get the bed frames and the mattresses off in the garage, which Jessica actually had all of them done. Build them, get the sheet, like everything had to be built. So it's amazing what we're putting together here this week. So we can help save these lives and get people moving. We already have 3 people living here full time. We haven't even done any advertising. It's so crazy. This is the world's most dry rotted deck. It should not be utilized, but we also love it, so we do. And moving on. And also all the bathrooms, like 2 or 3 of the bathrooms still need lots of work. So we're doing well. So you can see we're living in a full-blown remodel right now. There's just so much that's got to get done. But we are doing it together. We're getting a lot done, actually. There's just so much to be done. Right, Derek? Yeah. So anyway, hi, Jazz. I see. Yeah, I'll be ready to go in a second. We're saying goodbye. So yeah, that's about it. So yeah. If you guys like what we're doing, you like to donate, you can come and donate on the PayPal link. It's paypal.com/funding Sherlock is what it is, funding Sherlock. So we also have a link as well in our bio. So you guys are amazing. We'll see you Friday when we talk more with community leaders here in Colorado Springs. And yeah, until next time, stay safe, everybody. Be blessed and be beautiful. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.